25 creepy crime scene discoveries, according to Reddit. Number 25. A dead guy, but not just your average dead guy. This guy died on his couch, surrounded by no less than 1,500 Miller Lite cans. Plus, he had no friends or family. None. He was retired and his electric bill was auto-deducted from his checking account. He died on his couch and no one realized for 5 months. When we found him, the top, the front really, because he was on his back, was completely skeletonized. But the bottom, or back against the couch, was still meaty and rotting. The half skeleton was kinda creepy, but it's really creepy and sad that this guy left this world and didn't affect anyone. Just gone and forgotten. Here's hoping that this holiday season, you have friends or family that are aware of you. Number 24. Trooper here responded to a fight between two brothers and another unrelated black male. All these guys were in their late 30s, early 40s. Get them separated and they were all drunk. Turns out, the bigger of the two brothers and the other male were fighting over who got to have sex with the other brother. They had been raping him for a while. All three were low-functioning autistic. Ugh. Not really creepy, but I'll always remember that one. Well, to each their own, motherfucker. I find that shit disgustingly creepy. Can you imagine? Because if it's happening here, that means it's happening all over the place. Autistic people are probably doing things sexually with other people, thinking it's okay. And if they're too underdeveloped or too young to know any better, then they could be molested and grow up like that's fine. Fucking hell. Number 23. I volunteer with local PD, and I go on ride-alongs often. My creepy thing isn't scary so much as freaky. So we get a call about some squatters in a house that's going to be demolished soon to make room for a freeway. No big deal. Kick them out, go on with our business. It's sunset, just starting to get dark. Our car and the other officer arrive at this place, and it's all fenced off and looks abandoned. And by abandoned, I mean it looks scary as hell. It was like an old school house, metal swing set, a friendly scarecrow to stand next to a fence. Some crosses here and there. It was like in a residential neighborhood. On the blocked in windows, people wrote in Sharpie all kinds of spooky stuff. This place belongs to us, and just all around weird shit, like even creepier than that. So there was a main house, a garage type thing, and then a cellar, a fucking door leading under the ground with a creaky ass wooden steps. And so if you walk down there, it's concrete and there are windows, but it's a basement. The windows just show dirt, the beds and stuff, but there are beds and stuff, but it looks like it's been abandoned for a long time. It was so scary, it was ridiculous. If this comment gains any traction, I'll drive over there and take a picture of it. I know it's still up. So it looks like, I guess this was just a creepy place to the person who left this comment. And it did gain traction, so apparently the guy edited to say he'll go snap some pictures after his class. Update, I went and checked it out. I guess they demolished it because it was a haven for squatters and homeless people, and some people still living in the surrounding houses. I don't know when they demolished it because I was there with my girlfriend maybe 2 to 3 months ago, and he figured it would still be up. and then he posts a link to Imager of apparently where the place was. I guess there's nothing creepier than the passage of time, where once a place stood and times were shared, and time cannot exist, just like you. 25, 24, 23, 22. Wasn't my call, but I was told about it later. Aborted fetus in a chest freezer. This lady did an at-home abortion with some meds she bought online and didn't know what to do after, so she kept the fetus in her basement chest freezer for months. Quick joke to lighten the mood here. How did you come across it? Someone asks. Were you searching her house for some other reason? And someone else responds, I strongly believe his username delivers the answer. The person who wrote the aborted fetus in the chest freezer comment, their username is Let's Find Waldo. That's creepy, right? Or is it funny? 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. My uncle is a cop and likes to tell a story of the time he showed up to arrest a 15-year-old who skipped school to throw rocks through some cars and steal things in them. He gets there and knows the kid. They've gotten him a few times from school with drugs, one of the time for having a knife. They knock on the door and his 18-year-old brother and 17-year-old sister open it. Cop says what they want, and they tell them to fuck off. Cops show that they have a warrant for the kid's arrest, and they have to open the door. Get told another time to fuck off, and now the other cop car pulls up and asks what's going on. Uncle said that they might have to force their way in and break the chain. 18-year-old shithead says he's got a gun. About 3 seconds later, the door is broken. 18-year-old shithead is tased. 17-year-old is screaming for the brother who wanted to book it. He jumps out of the window and gets away for now, but the brother is thrown in a cop car. 17-year-old slaps the one officer and gets the same free ride and bracelets. They call the property manager and get permission to enter the house to completely investigate. The second floor reeks. Worst smell they've ever smelled. They get upstairs and it just gets worse and worse. They open the door and find a long, rotten body surrounded by needles and other drug shit. They leave and call it in. Uncle said later it came out that their grandmother died of an overdose. The mother was in jail for stabbing a UPS guy, and the kids were reported, and the grandmother was dead so they could keep cashing her. Oh my God, the kids never reported the grandma to keep cashing the social security checks. She was dead for about a year. Now that's what's up. Other than that, his best creepy stories were a guy who tortured and killed animals by feeding them to other animals. Not mouse to snake, think more cat to dog, or way too large rabbit to a starved snapping turtle. He also nailed several live rodents and cats to a board in the basement where he'd photographed them. Okay, animal crucifixion. And the other is a drug dealer who killed a guy and tried to put him through a meat grinder and feed him to his pit bull. Oh. Well, looks like we're kicking this list into gear. 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. Number 20. Dead bodies, booby-trapped houses. Oh, Jesus Christ. Teenage kid who had just hung himself, but died when the EMTs did not arrive in time. Fuck me. Number 19. My aunt is a police dispatcher. Normally she takes calls from the public and has an officer nearby respond, but one day she was asked to work the station's radio because the normal guy was sick. That meant she was acting as the central hub of the police radio network, taking calls from officers in the field and issuing backup to them and that kind of thing. She wound up having to listen to 4 cops talking back and forth in a panic as 2 squad cars arrived to check on a reported murder. The person who called was certain that there were multiple killers present. The victim's meat had been cut into 1-inch cubes, as if the killer was going to fry them up or make kebabs. The whole corpse had been disassembled like that. Corpse. The whole corpse. The whole corpse had been disassembled like that. Bones cut into neat inch segments. This ain't funny. Organs removed, separated, organized. She remembers one of the officers panicked and screamed something along the lines of, "This is OCD movie monster bullshit." I can't remember the exact quote, sadly, and I doubt my aunt remembers it herself. She thought they were playing a joke until they called for a hazmat crew to come get the body. Disgusting. Disgusting when you're in a scenario where a body is either decomposing or has been essentially disassembled in a manner where if you're on the scene, if you're in the body's presence, you're inhaling that dead body. So, join me. 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20. $19, $18. I know I'm late to the show, but during a search of a sex offender's house, I found a room that looked like a little girl's room. In the closet, I found a 4-foot doll in a pink dress. He has no kids, and he was in his late 50s. I like to think that maybe they omitted a little bit of information about that doll, which most likely was used for sexual purposes. Pretty bad. 50-year-old sex offenders, man. Friend is a cop. Wellness check called in. This is when they go make sure people are okay. Went in, smelled horrible, and discovered a large dead guy shirtless sitting in his front room in a lawn chair watching TV. Dead people don't watch TV. He had set up an industrial space heater behind his chair, which was on at full blast. Due to the heat and apparently other factors, he had merged through the back of the lawn chair. It's really disgusting how goopy a dead body will become with the right environmental provocation. My mother used to work for a police department, and I'd hang out there and I'd be homesick from school. This old man used to walk to the gas station on the corner to get a pack of smokes and a coffee every day. The gas station attendant called for a wellness check when she realized she hadn't seen him for a while. In the dead of the summer, cops went, knocked, smelled something. Opened the door, walked in, instantly came back out vomiting from the smell. They had to come back later with respirators, trash bags, and snow shovels to clean up the sludge that used to be the old man. Another officer almost quit his first night on the job. Really bad accident. Guy shows up. The one car has no one in it at all. He's looking around and the guy isn't on the ground anywhere. He tried to figure out if maybe the guy walked away. So to look inside for some identification, he finds the guy. He hit so hard that he slammed up under and into the dashboard. And he was just a broken sack of bones stuffed in around the steering column and other parts. High-speed collision will do that to you. just as heat will turn the human body into goop. But you guys have probably already seen certain shit on the internet. And I don't need to show you a dead body in a bathtub for you to get a mental image. At my grandmother's on vacation in Iowa, they lived in the middle of nowhere. Couple elderly neighbors and cornfields for miles, but it was like 2 a.m. and I was gonna go have a smoke before bed. Their back porch has a big sliding door. Well, I walk into the room with the sliding door, and there's a guy in a creepy mask. Like this. And his eyes are jet black. He's quietly wiggling the door, trying to open it. The lock is weird and lets the door have like an inch of free play. I got so scared I felt my butthole clench up and I dropped my cigarette. Right then, the guy freezes and looks right at me. He pauses and then starts frantically shaking the door trying to open it. Like this dude is trying to rip the door off the fucking house. I run over to my grandpa's gun cabinet and grab something, I don't know, like an old gun. By the time I whipped around to point it at him, he was gone. I ran and woke up my grandparents. We all walked around the house with loaded guns for a minute, but the guy was gone. A couple of weeks later, some bald guy walked out of the cornfield wearing a dress. He stood by the highway for half an hour, then got picked up by some sketchy car. I won't go in the cornfields even in broad daylight anymore. Well, here's a list of things that are not okay. This. Well, my very first dead guy had been in the house for almost a week during a very hot July with no air conditioner. Did you know that the skin will become clear and you can see everything? He popped when the funeral home came to get him. Yes, popped. Some people are not, they're not bothered by this, but me? No. I don't have the stomach. This is the only part of the job that bothers me. Friend of a cop here. He told me about how him and his buddy went to search an apartment. They looked around and the buddy finally called him over. A guy was just in an oven. Dead, of course, but in an oven. When the guys tried to pull him out of the oven, all the contents and gas of the dead guy fell right out. A few of the guys vomited and gagged. This is quite the list. I was an MP and not involved in this particular case, but a child pornography on a guy's computer. The guy was known to leave his room unlocked so people could use his computer. He ended up getting booted from the military and serving time in a military jail while swearing it wasn't him. Poor guy, I hope he wasn't set up. But if it was him, then fuck him. Brother-in-law is a cop. He told me about a time he and his partner were called to do a wellness check on someone with a terminal illness. The family didn't know where he was. So, they get to the house, knock, and get no response. They entered the house to see if he had passed away due to his illness. They did not find him there. But they did find a stairway leading to a basement. In the basement was a vast number of sex toys, ropes, harnesses. There was also a stage with a bed on it, and a video camera on a tripod focused on it. He had stumbled upon this guy's sex dungeon. The guy ended up being alive, but was visiting someone out of town and didn't notify any of his family. Stumbling into somebody else's sex dungeon is really scary. You don't know what the hell's going on in there. And you don't know, you can rest assured that pretty much everything that has gone on in there is not above board. But hey, what's the point of having a sex dungeon if you're gonna keep it legal? Family disturbance on Christmas Eve 2011. Husband versus wife. No battery. Nobody went to jail. But the house was filled with hundreds of knives and dildos. Normal dildos, little ones, great big horse dildos, every kind of mall ninja knife you could imagine. Every horizontal surface was covered with sharp metal or jiggly silicone. There were even a few new ones under the tree. After cleaning the house, we had to talk to these folks with a... After clearing the house, we had to talk to these folks with a straight face for a good 10 minutes. It was one of the greatest challenges of my career. Knives and dildos, baby. Live your life how you want. You know? MJ Squirtle. A teacher in my little town of 35,000 souls was caught fiddling little boys. He diddling the kiddles. You can't diddle the kiddle. Ugh. In his house, the police found a fully kitted, soundproof abduction room. Luckily, still unused. Soundproofed abduction room. And there's a link to an article with pictures of the room that this dude built in his basement. Well, the link's in the description, folks. You'll be able to check out the abduction room if you need tips on how to build it for yourself. And if this list isn't creeping you out, rest assured that somebody's listening to this right now that is going to use the tips that they get from the construction of this room in this article to build their own variation of abduction room. The room was windowless, soundproofed, with fresh air ducts, reinforced lockable door, and was stocked with toys, a TV, a bed, and a porta potty. And video surveillance equipment. Moving on. I'm not a cop, but a paramedic. I went into a lady's house one time and can't remember what the call was for, that had sheets of paper taped all over her walls. They all said something along the lines of, "Remember that the voices aren't real." It gave me a warm, safe feeling. Now, I like the last line of this one a lot because it gave me a warm, safe feeling could, be interpreted a number of different ways. Maybe the person that went, that's the paramedic, and saw these papers, enjoyed the reminder that the voices aren't real because they have voices as well. But, maybe the person who was living here was dealing with schizophrenia in a big way and didn't know how to deal with it. Not so much super terrible, but definitely creepy. On to the next one. Tiny, quiet southern town. Whole family that had been dead for a week. Whole family? Their teenage daughter's boyfriend, who she met online, was visiting across the country. Stepdad, mother, daughter, and friend, all murdered and hacked up by an axe. The mom was a professor at my university a block away, and when she didn't show up to work for a few days, the cops went to the house and talked to murderer. Who talked to the murderer? Motherfucker. The cops went to the house and talked to the murderer, who gave them some plausible excuse, so they left. He stayed in the house for a full week before leaving. The cops went back when the neighbors reported the smell. They caught the guy at the airport about to fly home. Now, you kill a family, and you bold enough to be living in the house, you know what I mean? Maybe you're trying to dispose of the body in a way or some shit. But if you end up getting caught because of the smell, maybe you just fucking around in that house. But you kill a family. You stay in that house. If the cops come and question you, and you manage to bullshit your way through them interrogating or questioning you, and you get them to leave, shouldn't that be the time that you get on a plane and go? Or should you just stay there until things go even more tits up and the cops come back? Because if the cops came once, they're coming back, son. This is madness. You just can't imagine what's going through certain people's heads, man. This is the difference between certain people who never get caught and people who get caught. Because it's like, What the fuck kind of madness is that? Ugh, I can't imagine. My dad answered a domestic call at an apartment on the 23rd floor. As soon as he walked in, he saw blood everywhere. In pools on the floor, splattered on the walls and on the ceiling, smeared all over everything. He walked further in to find a woman crumpled on the floor, battered beyond recognition, and the partner is standing in front of an open window. My dad started to talk to the man, to coax him into coming with, and the man immediately turned around and stepped out the window, falling to his death. The person edits this post to say, yes, she survived, but battered beyond recognition. That sucks. Somebody says that this reminds them of the story from the creepiest glitch in the Matrix thread. Except the guy who was getting calls from the 23rd floor didn't find anything. Maybe you are in the parallel universe where there was something to find. What? Let's read it. Oh boy, you guys would love where I work. This person deleted themselves. Interesting. Weird things happen here all the time. But I'll just talk about one of the creepiest moments I've ever experienced here. I work as a security nighttime attendant at the apartment building. It's 24 stories and one of the oldest buildings in the city. One night I'm sitting here when the phone rings at 3 a.m. and I answer, "Hello, this is Draven at the front desk. How can I help you?" The voice on the other end sounded female, but was totally garbled, and the only bit I could make out was 23rd floor. I tried to tell the person I couldn't understand them and asked what apartment they were in, but again, garbled response and 23rd floor. And third time of trying to understand them, the same response. I said since I couldn't understand them, I'd come up to meet them in the hallway. So I go to the main elevators, and both are up on the 23rd floor. Luckily, we have an older service elevator, and it's only on the 7th floor, so I call that down. I get it and hit the button for the 23rd floor, but it won't move, and the inner door won't close. So I go to unlock the reset panel, and boom, we start going up. Door's still open. I'm freaking out. The elevator is shaking because it goes pretty fast and it's old. As I'm going up, I just stay towards the back and I finally reach floor 23. I step out, door closes just fine, and I look around the hallway. There's nobody around, and I walk along slowly trying to listen for anyone awake who might have called, but there's nothing. So now I head the opposite direction and go towards where the regular elevators are, and when I get to them, they're just sitting there with their doors open. I was pretty freaked out, but I knew it could just be the elevators on the fritz, so I get in and I figure I'll reset them, and when I get to floor 1, and I hear the sound of the back stairwell closing. So I quickly get out and go to the stairwell, and lo and behold, there's no one there. But the maintenance door to the machine room is ajar, and at that time, I'm the only one in the building with a key. At the top of the building is a larger machine room housing all of the really, really loud machinery that does stuff in the building and allows access to the roof. I don't like going into it because it's creepy as fuck and no one ever goes there. So at this point, I'm seriously freaked out, but I muster up the courage and head in. I shout, "Hello?" And there's no response. The lights in the room flicker because they're shitty fluorescent, so I can't see well either. But at the end of the room, I make out the roof access door, and sure as shit, it's slightly open. So I slowly continue forward, checking the space in between each machine as I walk by, and there's no one there. So I open the roof access door, and I can't see anyone ahead of me on the roof, but there's a slight wrap around. And if there was a jumper or something, I needed to be sure. So I step out and leave the door ajar like it was. Almost immediately, the door is pulled shut. Now, I might have written it off as the wind or something, but this door is hard to shut and hard to open. Really hard. I immediately grab the handle and hank it open, slam it behind me, and run straight for the maintenance door. It automatically locks when it's closed, so I slam it shut too and go to the 23rd floor hallway, get into an elevator, door still open, and go all the way down to the first floor. I go back to the main lobby, and as soon as I sit down, the phone rings. I pick it up, don't say a word, and sure as hell the garbled voice again, only audibly, saying 23rd floor. I hung up the phone, turned the ringer off, and spent the rest of the evening just staring at the parking garage security monitor. Well, that's a story. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm glad that I read a comment here because I wouldn't have seen that. That could have been its own video, but maybe not. Moving on. This looks like what? Number 5. Okay. My brother is a cop. He told me about this time when they responded to a workplace accident where a rail yard worker had been crushed between two rail cars. The guy had been crushed/pressed into the ladder of one of the cars. Ugh. They kept hearing voices coming from the body. Muffled voices, but definitely coming from the body. It took them a while to figure out that the worker had been carrying a radio. Needless to say, they were a bit disturbed until they reached that conclusion. Dead body voices. Ooh. Number 5. Or is it 4? Number 4. Not a cop, but a former corrections officer, doing a cell search one time and stumbled across a 500 milliliter Coffee Mate container almost full of accumulated semen. A Coffee Mate container almost full of sperm, of cum. I was later told that it took 7 months to save it up. I've seen and dealt with a lot of shit, but for some reason, that one ranks up there. Well, that's one way to collect that jizz. Number 3. Oh, damn. Possibly too late to the party, but here goes. Something tells me if you're number 3 in the whole thread, you're never too late. I was a fresh officer with dreams of becoming a hero. I get dispatched to a call of a family fight. Not wife and husband, but brother and sister. The female was reporting the male had attacked her. I arrived and located female and a male. The male I knew from prior contacts. I detained him and handcuffed him quickly and smelled the strong odor of pepper spray. I found out that after the male knocked off the female's weave, she pepper sprayed him. I knew there were different types of pepper spray, like gel. I'm walking around the house, taking photos for my investigation and accessing the property damage. I noticed that in his room, the odor from the pepper spray was extremely strong and made my eyes instantly water. With a decent amount of stinging sensation, the fumes made it incredibly hard to breathe and left me without the ability to breathe at points, requiring that I leave the room to get fresh air. I find a brownish gel substance all over the walls in the shape of handprints. I photograph it and determined that it was the pepper gel that male suspect was wiping off of his face onto the wall. I found it odd that it was all over the walls and covered the room. I thought this chick dusted him with the entire can of pepper gel. After some investigation, I took the male to jail. I responded to the same house several days after for an unrelated medical issue. There were more family members at the house, and the male was still in custody. I was having a conversation with the family as the hero firefighters were saving the day. I inquired if they had fully cleaned up the pepper spray from the male's room. They gave me a strange look and told me that there was none in there. I told them about the gel that was on the wall. I sat there in horror as they explained to me this man had been for years coming on his walls and playing with it. And the gel was in fact old cum, and the fumes were the pungent smell of this man's cum room. Oh my God. It's the new cum box. Cum room. Cum room. Pungent cum. From years of cum. This is not a picture of the cum room. Oh my God. They explained to me the man had been for years coming on his walls and playing with it. Oh my God, cum room. Cum room. Perla, cum room. It's not much to see. It's just a picture of like a handprint on a wall and you know it's cum. Number 2, a coat rack with a hat on. Clearing a dark house and seeing that could easily be a person standing motionless in the corner, and it's not fun. A coat rack with a hat on, ladies and gentlemen, probably doesn't get any scarier than that. A response here reads, as silly as this sounds, I was clearing a house with my gun out obviously, and rounded a corner to see a man pointing a gun right at my face. I yelled and was taking slack out of the trigger when I realized I was looking at a full-length mirror. Took a while to recover from that adrenaline dump. That's a good illustration of how the human mind can't process the entire scene at one time, and you'll focus on what's important. The barrel of a gun versus other details, my own face, and the police uniform. Number 1. Good luck topping the cum room. I used to volunteer with my local police department. Nothing will beat the old lady who passed away in her house, and her little dog ate her face. Holy balls. Literally just the skin from the jawline to the hair line, from ear to ear. It left the eyeballs in the sockets, just a skeleton in a lady suit. Doing the 1,000-yard stare. Someone says this was meat the whole time? Dogs. He was made of food. They're made out of meat. Guys, a lot of you watching my videos are, new. I don't mean that in a rude way. But you don't know me, You know how many YouTube videos I have? Let's check this one page. Let me show you something hilarious. I've uploaded 1,246 YouTube videos. And you guys haven't seen the majority of those. Let's be real. So if you type in "they're made out of meat" and then type Kyle's lame, there's actually a video there. You should go check it out. I'd link it in the description. No, I will link it in the description. I'm a nice guy. Guys, I really wish you a happy holiday season. Special thanks to everybody for being sweet and sending things to the house via the updated wish list. And a special thanks to Emily for being amazing, because she bought way too much crap. That's just going to make me anxious and anxiety ridden over the next couple of days. But I'll be figuring out a way to thank her properly, as I'll be making more lists to hopefully thank some of the people who've done this far. Love you. Talk to you later.